Her hands trembled as she held the small photograph, her mother smiling beside a worn-out wooden fence. For a moment, heart felt warm. But then reality crashed into her chest like a violent storm. She was alone now, completely alone. Kaiti Stablefield was only 18 when her world shattered in a single moment. One phone call, one panicked voice, one sentence that changed everything. There was an accident, and she didn't make it. Her mother had been everything, her only parent, her cheerleader, her comfort, her safe place. After losing her, silence wasn't just quiet, it was suffocating. The house felt colder, the air heavier, and every corner reminded her of laughter that would never return. Bills piled up, food ran low, the world kept spinning, but her life felt stuck in grief. She'd sit in her mother's empty chair with a blanket around her shoulders, as if holding on to warmth that no longer existed. Sometimes she cried until her body couldn't produce more tears. Sometimes she just stared into space, numb and hollow. School quickly became impossible. Teachers would talk, classmates would laugh, but their voices sounded distant, like whispers through thick glass. She stopped answering messages, stopped going to class, stopped believing she had a future. The landlords were patient at first, then impatient, then cruel. "You're 3 months behind, Kaiti. We can't do charity." As if grief came with a schedule. One rainy afternoon, she stood outside the house she had known her whole life, now locked, now taken. Everything she had left was in a small backpack, 2 shirts, a notebook, and her mother's photo. Cold wind slapped her cheeks, mixing rain with tears until she couldn't tell them apart. She wandered for hours before finding a bench near a local café. Warm light spilled onto the sidewalk, and through the frosted window she saw families laughing, couples sharing pastries, children pressing noses against glass. Life, ordinary, beautiful life, continued while she froze outside, unseen and irrelevant. Hunger settled in her stomach like a stone. She hadn't eaten properly in days. She hugged her knees to her chest, hoping to make herself smaller, less noticeable, less alive, less everything. Then the door to the cafe opened. A boy stepped out holding a steaming cup. He had messy brown hair, soft features, and eyes that carried gentle curiosity rather than judgment. He hesitated, looked at her, looked away, then looked again. Kaiti stiffened. She'd become familiar with that look, pity, confusion, discomfort. She braced for it. But instead, the boy walked toward her and slowly extended the cup. "It's hot chocolate. I noticed you're sitting out here." His voice was careful, as if he was afraid of breaking something fragile. Kaiti stared at it, unsure. Pride and desperation wrestled inside her chest. "You don't have to talk," he said quietly. "Just please take it." She finally reached for it. The warmth spread through her fingers before reaching her heart. She closed her eyes as the first sip melted down her throat, sweet, soft, comforting. The taste reminded her of winter nights with her mother by the fireplace. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. The boy nodded. "I'm Lucas." She didn't reply. Her name suddenly felt heavy, like a memory she wasn't ready to share. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. A fragile laugh escaped her. "No, not really." He sat beside her. Not too close, not too far, just enough to say you don't have to be alone. For the next 15 minutes, silence existed between them, not awkward but compassionate. Finally, he stood. "Wet here." Kaiti almost panicked. She didn't want him to go, but she also didn't know why. When he returned, he wasn't alone. A middle-aged woman with warm hazel eyes approached. Her expression wasn't pity, it was concern, the kind you see in people who genuinely care. Lucas spoke softly. "This is my mom." The woman crouched down so their eyes met. Not towering, not intimidating. "Sweetheart," she said in a voice full of softness. "Lucas told me you might need help. Would you like to come inside? Just for warmth. No pressure." Kaiti bit her lip. Her chest tightened. No one had spoken to her like that since her mother died. After a long shaky breath, she nodded. Inside, warmth wrapped around her like a blanket. The smell of fresh bread filled the air. A small golden retriever wagged its tail at her feet as if welcoming a long-lost friend. The woman handed her a meal pasta, warm bread, fresh salad. Kaiti tried to eat slowly, but her body betrayed her. Hunger took over and tears fell with every bite. Lucas's mother gently placed a hand on hers. "You're safe now." Those words hit her harder than any grief, any cold night, any empty room. Over the next weeks, they didn't pry. They didn't push. They simply showed up. Warm meals, clean clothes, quiet conversations, a room with soft blankets and morning sunlight. Slowly, laughter returned, not constant but real. One evening, sitting at the kitchen counter, she finally whispered. "My mom's name was Emily. She used to tell me the world is still full of good people, even when life doesn't feel fair." Lucas smiled. Months later, with their help, Kaiti returned to school. She worked part-time at the cafe, her smile greeting customers the same way Lucas once greeted her, gently, without judgment. The ache in her heart didn't disappear, but it changed. It softened. It found space beside new warmth. And one day, while wiping down a table, she paused and stared at the sunlight spilling across the floor. She didn't feel broken anymore. She felt surviving. She felt rebuilding. She felt seen. Kindness hadn't erased her past. It had helped her find her future. That night, before bed, she placed her mother's photo beside a new one. Her, Lucas, and his mother, all smiling. She whispered into the quiet room, maybe losing everything wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning of finding people who remind us that love still exists. and for the first time in a very long time, she slept peacefully,